In the last video we discussed that how you will set up the default information about your supplier or your vendor in Sage 50. So the next step is that we need to create a vendors, that how to create suppliers or the vendors or the payable record, the master data in Sage 50, and then we're gonna check the list of all your vendors. We're gonna check the reports. So the first step is that how to create a vendor. So we have the following vendors we have, that is Red Ferry, we have Carrefour, and we have Wind International. And this Carrefour and Wind International, they have the opening balances of 100,000 and 750. So our first step is that we need to create these three suppliers, the vendors. So the first one is Red Ferry. So how to create these vendors? You can use this option, that vendors and purchases. From here you can click, you can create a new vendor. If you want to add it or view, you can select this option, and that is write letters to your to the vendors, and that is set up vendors default. So we already entered the default information. So what you can use this option also, or you can go click on this maintain tab, and in this maintain tab we have this vendor option. So click on this vendors, maximize the window. So first you need to give a unique vendor ID. Let's suppose I'm gonna give 100, enter, and here you need to write the name of the supplier, and that is Red Ferry. Then you can make this vendor record inactive, and then we have these 4 different tabs here. That is the general information about the supplier or the vendor, and that is additional addresses of this vendor, and that is the history information where you can also enter the opening balances, and that is a purchase information. So who is that, the contact person? Let's suppose the name is John. That is account number which is given by the vendor itself. Let's suppose for Red Ferry the account is 9988. Then you can enter the mailing address here. Let's suppose it is in Bank Street, Bank Street 105, Burjaman Mall. That is the city. We can enter Dubai, right? And that is like additional information like zip code or that information. The country we are selecting here, that is UAE. Then we have this vendor type. You can mention the vendor type, that is wholesaler, retailer, or what is the category. It is a domestic or foreign international. So that is a limited text, but you can give a unique short key or short code here. Look, the expense account, it comes default because we already entered this default information. That is expense account. You can give that the telephone number here. Then you can mention the fax, and this is email, important if you want to send email to your suppliers, right? Or that invoices to the suppliers, share your statements with the supplier. Then you need to enter this email. That is a website information of your supplier, and these are the customized field. That is office manager, account representative, that you can change in the default information also. Then you can go to this addresses tab. Here you can enter the additional addresses about the supplier if they have multiple branches. Then we have this history. This history will fill automatically because when you have purchases and payments in different time period, it will come automatically here. So right now, because we are starting from the scratch, so we don't have any data, so that's why purchases and the payments are 00. But if you want to enter the vendor beginning balances, you can click this option and you can enter the beginning balances. But before that, you need to save the supplier first. We will enter this beginning balances later. Then we have purchase info. In the purchase info, you can enter the purchase default information. That is your purchase representative who in your company who is doing purchasing from this Red Ferry supplier. You can mention that employee name. That is a tax ID, the tax registration number you can mention here. And what is the shipping method? That is airborne, a courier, hand delivery, or customer pickup. So we can select here the customer pickup. Then we have this default terms and condition. Remember, we set up the default terms and conditions here, that net due days is 30, discount if you pay, discount in 10 days, that if you pay within 10 days they will give us 2% discount, and we have a credit limit of 50,000. Then we have batch delivery method, that is used for to email like purchase orders. You want a paper form that you want to print in a hard copy, or you want to send an email. So if you want to send an email, then you need to check this option so it will link with your Microsoft account. So right now we're gonna do with the paper form, and that is a default payment setting. The default payment method is the check, and that is a cash account 101, but we can change that. Like let's suppose our default payment method is through cash or a check. So I want a default payment method that is check, and I want to choose the bank account. Let's suppose we're gonna pay through Dubai Islamic Bank. So we select this option, Dubai Islamic Bank, and you can check this option. So now this is my default payment method. So whenever I'm gonna do a payment to my supplier, I'm gonna do a payment to my vendor, this check or this information will comes automatically. That is a default through Dubai Islamic Bank. So that is how we create a vendor, that is how we create a supplier in Sage 50. And then click this option to save. Similarly, what you guys can do, you need to create these two supplier. I'm gonna create this carry for right now because they have the opening balances. So I'm gonna show you that how to enter the opening balances. So save a new. So the first one is 100, so the next one is 101, enter, and that is carry 4. Sorry, I just copy paste. Then we have the same journal information, that who is that the contact person, that is a unique account number which is given by the carry 4, and that is the mailing address. You can mention here the country, it is in UAE. You can enter the vendor type, it is a wholesaler, retailer, domestic, or that is foreign vendors, and that is a default bank information. You can mention the email ID, you can mention the website of carry for your supplier, and that is a history where this vendor beginning balances are very important. And then we have this purchase info, these are the default that information. You can change that the bank account. I'm gonna pay to this that carry for supplier through Dubai Islamic Bank. Check this option and save it. So this is how we create suppliers or the vendors in Sage 50. And if you want to enter the beginning balances, you can select any one of them, it's on you. So I want to select the carry for right now. So what I will do, or let's suppose I select the Red Ferry. In the assignment we don't have a balance for the Red Ferry. Okay, I'm gonna create the Wind International also. So it is 102, enter, and that is Wind International. Syed, and that is the default information. I'm gonna change this. I'll make this Johnny. Okay, and the default information that we can change here, that is check, and the bank account is the Islamic Bank, and then save it. So right now what we did, we just created a 3 supplier: Red Carry, Carry 4, and Wind International. So I want to enter the beginning balances now. So what you need to do, you can click this option in the history, and here we have this vendor beginning balances. Click it. You can enter, this is for Wind International, and if you click here, the vendor balances are 0. So right now I'm gonna enter for the carry forward, that is 100,000. So select this or double click this one, it will bring us here. So right now we don't have any invoice number, so you can mention 000, and as of 1st January 2019, enter. We don't have the purchase order, 000 you can mention, and that is how much, that is 100,000. Enter. And we have default accounts payable account, that is 201. Enter. And then you can save it. Go back to the vendor balance. Look, carry forward have an opening balance of 100,000. Similarly, we have Wind International. Click here. This is what related with the Wind International. We don't have the invoice number because we are entering the opening balances here. 01 2019. Enter. We don't have the purchase order number, and we have the balance for the Wind International, that is 75,000. Enter. And 201, that is accounts payable account. Enter, and you can save it. So that is what vendor balance is here. Cancel it. So in this video we discuss about that how to enter a new supplier or a vendor in Sage 50, and how you enter the beginning balances, the opening balances for your suppliers.